Hello and welcome to day 12 of 30 days of Photoshop. Today we're going to show you how to scale, rotate, and align layers in Photoshop to create a beautiful composition. Hello and welcome to PHLEARN. My name is Aaron Nace, and today on 30 Days of Photoshop, we're showing you how to scale, rotate, and align. All this is gonna be in a non-destructive manner, and we're gonna make a cool image along the way. Let's go ahead and jump into Photoshop. We got a lot to cover. So we're starting off with our background image. Now, my goal here, I actually wanna put a different photograph inside of this frame. So I went on a stock image website and I found this cool image of a yellow door. What we're gonna do is click and drag from Finder right here into Photoshop, just like that, and then hit that checkbox right up at the very top. Okay, now the first thing we want to talk about is a smart object. When I click and drag this into Photoshop, it's automatically going to be placed as a smart object. You can see this here in our layers panel. We have a smart object icon. Now this is really cool because check this out. If I hit Control or Command T for transform, okay, which is going to basically allow me to scale this, I can now go all the way to my corners here and click and drag if I want to do that. But what I really like to do personally, up here at the top, you're going to see all your transform commands. So you can transform this if you have this box checked here. You could transform it from the center, or you could transform it from one of the corners. You can actually type in your width and your height, like in pixels, or you have percentages. And this is what I use most of the time. Now you can see it brought it in at like 53% of the original size. What I want to show you right now is one of the main benefits of a smart object. Let's go ahead right here. What we're going to do is literally I'm going to type in 1. And okay, this is going to put it at 1%, and we're going to hit enter twice. So you can see I made that image of the door. Look how tiny it is, right? Like basically this has like no resolution. We made it 1% of the original size. But because it's a smart object, check this out. If I hit Control or Command T again for transform, you can see it actually kept it saying 1%. And if I just go in here and I type in 100, so there we go, 100%, and hit enter. Now check what would happen with a normal image. You'd lose all that resolution. But now, because it's a smart object, I didn't lose any resolution. In fact, it's the full resolution of the original photo. So you can scale this all the way to 1% and then bring it all the way back up to 100%. You're not gonna lose any resolution. All right, so that's the big deal with the smart object. That's why we use them in Photoshop. Now let's hit Control or Command T again. That's kind of like your main entryway to scaling and rotating, things like that. So again, there are a few ways you can do this. We're gonna zoom out. You can grab any one of these corners. I can go ahead and click on a corner here and click and drag to bring that larger or smaller. Now, if I hold Alt or Option, it's gonna scale around the center point. Let's go ahead and zoom in and show you that, okay? Alt or Option is gonna scale around the center point. So I'm gonna grab this point here and hold Alt or Option, and you're just gonna see it's gonna scale around the center. Now I have this little checkbox up here. Remember we talked about that earlier. If I have this checked, then I can go ahead and choose where I'd like to scale from. Right now it's in the center, but I can actually move this. Let's say I wanted to move this to the top right. You can see my icon moved up there. And now when I scale and I hold Alt or Option, it's actually gonna scale about that point, which is kind of cool. And I can actually move this thing too. If I put this back in the center, here we go, you're gonna see I can actually click and drag and move it over. Let's put it right there. I'm gonna just scale right now and hold Alt or Option, and you're gonna see it's gonna scale around that point as well, which is super, super cool. Okay, now there are some other controls. Let's go ahead and put this right back here into the center. There's some other controls that I want to show you. Right now, our width and our height are linked together with this chain link icon. So if I click and drag any one of these corners, we're going to maintain aspect ratio. Now, at any point, you can hold Shift, and that's going to temporarily unlink your width and your height, and then you can scale it at any size you want. If you let go of Shift, it's going to bring it back. If you go ahead and uncheck this chain link, then it's going to by default allow you to do this. And then if you hold Shift, it'll link them back together. I recommend keeping this linked pretty much at all times. Next thing we're gonna show you, I got a lot to cover. If you hold Control or Command, you can actually go to any one of these corners, okay, and click and scale this, and now you're gonna see you're gonna be able to scale this around and create all these cool different aspect ratios. All right, let's hit Escape here, Control or Command Z. You can hold Control or Command and click on one of these edges. So let's hold Control or Command and click here, and now you can see I can click and drag this image like that. I could do the same thing here, okay? And at any point in time, I could take any one of these corners and click and drag and move it like this. So literally all I'm doing is holding Control or Command, and I'm able to scale it all I want. Now, I don't really want this. Let's hit escape and we're back to how it was before. Let's hit Control Command T one more time and we're gonna scale this down. There we go, because I wanna show you a couple more commands. If you hold Control and grab a corner here, okay, and then you hold Alt or Option, you're going to skew, okay? So Control plus Alt or Option, it's gonna skew. And if you hold Control, Shift, and Alt or Option, you're going to do perspective, okay? So keep in mind, Control, Shift, as well as Alt or Option, those are going to be your keyboard shortcuts for making any type of transformation. And at any point in time, you can still hit Control and kind of scale this around. And then from here, you could scale this around larger or smaller, just like that. But if you get to a point where you're like, okay, I've messed this up, I don't actually want this, all you have to do is hit Escape, and you're gonna get back to your original size. All right, so with all that done, now you know there's a lot of options for scaling and transforming. We're gonna hit Control Command T one more time, okay? And then let's go ahead and scale this down. Now, the things we haven't shown you how to do, we're gonna zoom in and show you how to do those now. Okay, we haven't showed you how to flip your images or rotate your images. So to rotate, here in your contextual taskbar, you can rotate counterclockwise by 90 degrees or clockwise by 90 degrees if you want to, right here. You can flip horizontally. There we go. You can flip vertically. You can rotate your image simply by dragging your cursor right up here to the corner and click and drag. And if I hold Shift, it's going to rotate it by 15-degree increments, which is really nice. There we go. Or you can simply rotate this by clicking and dragging this icon here. It's going to slowly give you some rotation. Or you can literally type this in right here. If I type in 180, it's going to rotate that by 180 degrees. All right, let's go ahead and put that back to 0. There we go, and we're looking good. Now, all of this was done in my transform dialog. So again, Control or Command T. Now to actually place this, like up until now, we've just been hitting Escape every time and that resets it back to the original. But to place this, to apply our transformation, all you have to do is hit this checkbox right up here or hit Enter. There you go, and it applies that transformation. Now, at any time, I can still hit Control or Command T and I can scale this larger or smaller. I can do any of that stuff I want to. But for now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this layer. I'm gonna go ahead right here in my layers panel. Let's lower our opacity just a little bit and place it about where we think it's gonna go. So maybe right about there. Let's hit Control or Command T and we're gonna scale this down just a little bit. And I wanna put this inside of that frame. So how do I do that? Well, we're gonna zoom in. Let's go ahead and make this layer invisible. Just click on this little eyeball here. We're gonna go to our background layer and I'm gonna go here into under our selection brush tool. We're gonna go and check on the Polygonal Lasso tool. Okay, this allows me to make a selection. So let's go ahead and zoom in here. I'm gonna go ahead and click right over here. There we go. We're gonna click once to start our selection process. There we go. Let's go and scroll over here and click one more time down there. We're gonna scroll down here and boop, click there. Scroll all the way down here. And then to close out your selection, just hit Enter. Fantastic. So now you can see we have a selection right around this little frame. So what we're gonna do, we have this yellow door layer. Let's turn that layer back on visible. Okay, I'm gonna bring my opacity all the way up to 100% now. And now we're gonna go ahead and click on our layer mask icon. And it's gonna convert this selection that we just made into a layer mask, which is basically just gonna hide the rest of this layer. Okay, so we have our selection active. We're on the layer that we want. Let's go ahead and click here on our layer mask icon. There we go, check that out. Now, there's a couple things that I wanna talk about here. Okay, I know, today's a lot. We got a lot of really good stuff. So the first thing I wanna talk about, let's go ahead and click on our layer. Now, if I use my move tool, so let's go to our move tool, and I click and drag and move this around, you're gonna see my layer and my layer mask are just moving around, like the whole image is moving, right? Let's hit undo to put it back where it was. My layer, by default, and my layer mask, they're gonna be linked together. Let's go ahead and check on this little chain link. I'm gonna check there and uncheck that, okay? So now, by default, we have a chain link. If you click on it, it's gonna remove the chain link. That will allow me to actually click here and move just my image, and the layer mask is actually gonna stay in the same place, okay? Or I could click on my layer mask and move my layer mask, but the image stays in the same place, okay? So this is kind of cool because my layer mask is defining its visibility just in this photo frame, but I could still click on my layer and I can move it. But check this out. I can hit Control or Command T for transform, and I can go ahead and scale this a little bit if I wanted to. So I could make this larger or smaller if I want to. You know, you can click on your corners right here or use your numbers. But here, like you can see, maybe the bottom of the door isn't exactly like level. What we're gonna do is I'm gonna hold Control or Command and click on this little corner here, and we're just gonna kind of straighten this door up a little bit right there on the bottom. There we go. And this is looking really good in that frame, and then I'm gonna hit enter. So I can make any transformations that I want of my layer, and my layer mask is gonna stay in the same place if they're unlinked. And then when you're done, you just click right here in the middle, and that links them back together again, and then move as one. That's pretty cool, right? So the next thing I wanna do, let's add a little bit of an inner shadow to make it look like it's actually in this matting. We're gonna go to this layer. Let's go ahead and double click right here on this gray area. Fantastic. We're gonna bring that right over there, boop, 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 boop. And we're gonna create what's called an inner shadow, okay? So for our inner shadow, let's go ahead and check on that box. And you can see it's subtle, but this inner shadow, there we go, you're gonna see it allows us to create like what looks like a little bit of a photo frame, okay? And I can change my distance here and decide how much or how little I want that to be visible. If I hold Control or Command plus and zoom in, you can kind of see it. So here's the preview. Let's just turn that off and back on again, all right? Cool little effect that I can turn off and on here at any time. It just kind of makes it look like it's actually in that photo frame, which is really cool. Okay, so isn't that nice? Yellow chair, yellow door. Let's take a breather. We've done a lot. We've shown you how to scale your images. We've shown you how to warp and transform your images. We've shown you how to rotate your images. We've shown you how to use layers and layer masks, and we've talked about smart objects. Now, the one thing that we haven't covered today just yet is aligning images, okay? And this is happening when you want two images to be like aligned on the center or vertically, top and bottom and things like that. So for this part of today's video, we're gonna bring in yet another image and then teach you alignment. This is really cool. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump back into Finder. We're gonna go to this signature.jpg that I found. Let's go ahead and click it, drag that in there. This is like literally just a JPEG from a stock image website. Now, what I wanna do, I wanna extract this text. So what we're gonna do is on this layer, I'm gonna go to select up here. We're gonna go to color range, and I'm gonna go ahead and click right here on the color range of the actual text that I wanna select. There we go. So you can see it turns white. That means it's selected. Down here in your selection preview, yours might be set to none. I like mine to be set to grayscale. And then you can click on there, whatever's white gets selected. Let's hit okay. So you can see that actually gets selected. We just literally selected this writing. What we're gonna do is create a new layer here, new layer, and I can make my signature layer invisible. Okay, you can see my selection is actually still active. So let's go ahead and I wanna grab this like yellow color from this door. I'm gonna hit B for the brush tool and I'm gonna hold Alt or Option and click here on this yellow color, okay? You can also use your eyedropper tool right here if you want to, or you can click here on your foreground color and then click on right over here to go grab that color. Okay, so now I have a yellow color in my foreground that's the same for my door, and I still have this selection active. So I'm on this layer. What we're gonna do is go to Edit. I'm gonna go out to Fill. So we're gonna fill this selection, and I'm gonna choose, check it out, foreground color, because we just grabbed the foreground color from that door, right? Let's hit okay, and you're gonna see it just filled that selection with the foreground color. That's pretty cool, right? Now, check this out. When I zoom out, you're gonna see, whoa, what's going on here, okay? Why is all that selected? Well, remember we went to select color range here. It actually selected some of the color range from our entire image. So from this layer, what we're gonna do is make a selection with our marquee tool. I'm just gonna go ahead and click and drag right around just that signature that we want, okay? And then I'm gonna invert my selection just like this, boop. Now it's selecting everything except that signature. I'm gonna hit the delete key on my keyboard and then go to deselect. There we go. So now if I use my move tool, I literally just have this. Isn't that cool? So we started with this like signature in just a JPEG, and now we have the signature on a transparent background, and I can do with it whatever I want. Really cool. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna use this to teach you alignment. And for that, I wanna make it a smart object, because right now it's just a regular layer. And remember, we talked about if it's a regular layer, like check this out. If this is a regular layer and I make this like really small, and hit enter, and then try to make it really like big again, okay? Like let's make it big again. You're gonna see it loses all the resolution, okay? It does not look good. So we need to make it a smart object before we start messing with it, okay? So go to your layer, you're gonna go to layer, down to smart objects, and then we're to convert to smart object. Now you can see it has the smart object icon. Okay, fantastic. So this is really good. So now that this is a smart object, I can scale this, I can do whatever we want, and we're ready to teach you all about alignment, okay? So to do that, we're gonna do one more thing. We're gonna create a rectangle, and I'm gonna show you how to align the signature with the rectangle. Then we're gonna put the signature in the print. It's gonna be super cool. Okay, so let's go ahead and go under the layer of our signature. Okay, this layer here with the original, okay, we don't even need that. I'm gonna just click and just drag that into the trash. We don't need it anymore, but you can download all this for free on PHLEARN.com so you can follow along. Just click on the link right down below. Okay. Now we're gonna go to our rectangle tool right over here. I'm gonna go to fill, and then let's go grab our color picker, and I'm gonna fill with this color right over here that I'm gonna choose from our image. There we go. Fantastic, that looks good. And then our stroke, I don't want a stroke on there. Cool. So let's go ahead and just create a rectangle, something like this. That looks good. Fantastic. And here in our layers, we're gonna make our signature a little bit smaller so you can see this. All right, and let's shift click on both of those layers, use our move tool, move this right over here. What we're doing now is kind of teaching you how alignment works in Photoshop. And alignment works between multiple layers, but it also works within selections. So let's go ahead and talk about both of those. So here we have our layer one. Okay, let's just double click, and I'll just call this signature. Even though I know that's just French for like, I love you or something like that. I'm calling it signature. Okay, now let's go ahead and put this right over here on the top left. Let's say you wanted this signature to be aligned in the center of your rectangle. What you're gonna do is you're gonna shift click 2 layers or more, but multiple layers. You're gonna shift click multiple layers. Go ahead and grab your move tool. You can hit V for your move tool, go right here. And then when you do, you're gonna have access to your alignment tools up on the very top. So if I hit align left edges and I click there, it's gonna align the left edges of both of these layers. If I do the center, it's gonna do that. If I do the right, it's gonna go on the right. Top, center, and bottom. So if you wanted this to be center and center, literally all you have to do is it's gonna center align both of those. Now, right now, this little word is inside of the rectangle. If I take this word and I put it right over here, okay, and then I shift click my signature and my rectangle. See, this is not inside of it right now. And then I hit center line, it's gonna move them both, and then it's gonna move both of them. So it's gonna look for whatever's like the larger bounding box, and it's going to move everything to get it center aligned with that. So that's really cool. But now that the signature is inside of there, if I click on the bottom, it's going to align, you know, it's gonna take the larger object and then move the smaller object into the larger object. Okay, so that's kind of how alignment works within layers, and that's why I wanted to show you these 2 layers. Now, the other thing that I want to show you is that alignment also works within selections, okay? So if I have a selection, let's say I take my signature and I put it up there, and I take this rectangle and I put it down there, okay? If I make a selection, I'm gonna go to my marquee tool, and I'm just gonna make a selection right over here. We're just gonna make a square selection, okay? There we go. If you have a selection active and you use your alignment tools, okay, you don't need to click on multiple layers. You can do 1 layer at a time, but now your alignment tools, instead of aligning the layers to each other, they're going to align based on a selection. So I'm gonna click on the rectangle and align center, and you're gonna see it aligned it to this selection. You can see it's perfectly centered vertically and horizontally to my selection that I made. I can click on the signature now and align this vertically and horizontally, and it did that perfectly aligned to my selection. So if you have a selection active, alignment will work to the selection. If you just have 2 layers activated, it's going to align those layers to each other. Let's go ahead, we're gonna turn this layer for the rectangle back invisible. I'm gonna take the signature now. We're gonna hit Control or Command T. We're gonna scale this down a little bit. There we go, let's go put it in there and zoom in. Now, I want this, okay, to be aligned here. Let's make it a little bit smaller even, Control or Command T. I want this little signature to be aligned inside of my actual signature frame. See, there was a plan for all this all along. To do that, what we're gonna do is make a selection. So remember, we have this rectangle door, but we have a layer mask here. And this layer mask, you can really easily turn any layer mask into a selection. All you have to do is hold Control or Command and click on that layer mask, and then check this out. The layer mask becomes a selection, okay? So now that we have a selection active, check this out. I can click on this signature, I can go to my move tool, and I can align this to the left. Just zoom in to show you. There we go. It aligned to the left of the signature, or to the center, or to the right, okay? Or to the bottom, it just put it down there, okay? Bottom center, bottom left. Or if I wanted center, it's gonna put it right here in the very center of that selection, in the center of the frame. So this is a really good way. Like, let's say you wanna put it on the bottom right. So let's go to the bottom and the right, okay? And then you can use like your left arrows. So I can hit Control or Command D to deselect. You can hit the left arrows 5 times, and then it's perfectly spaced 5 pixels from the bottom and 5 pixels from the right as well. So there we go. Look at that example. All of this is non-destructive. I can just shift, I can turn any of this stuff off and on at the same time. But this is where we got today. So kind of fun, right? Of course, we're talking about scaling and rotating and aligning, but in that process, we created this image and showed you so many great ways that you can use these tools. I really hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. If you did, give us a big thumbs up and join us tomorrow as we continue for 30 days of Photoshop. Thanks again, and I'll learn you later. Bye, everyone.